Welcome to the Excelsior Health Podcast. This is the podcast for busy professionals who are looking to transform their health by losing body fat and building strength. What we do on this podcast, guys, is we take the complicated, the scary, the messy things about fitness and nutrition, and we break it down to simple strategies and tactics that you can implement into your lifestyle and see real results. I'm your host, Coach Cory Fernandez, owner of Training for Warriors Sauga. And today, guys, we are continuing our series on the 5 myths that's holding back busy professionals from transforming their health. If you saw episode 1, we talked about, hey, one of the myths that you're believing right now is I don't have the time. I'm just so busy. And we broke that down. So make sure you guys check that out. Today, what we're talking about is more on the side of the training. So today's myth is that you have to do extensive amounts of cardio and you have to train lots of hours and days per week in order to transform your health. And I'm going to show you guys that you don't have to do that. All right. So let's say it like this. This episode, you might be thinking, hey man, like I want to start my journey. I want to transform my health. I want to get in shape. Most busy professionals that are in their late 30s, 40s, and 50s, one of the first things they start to do is they take the shoes, they maybe clean them up a little bit. They go in the office, or not in the office, in the closet. They get their best pairs of shorts. They throw on an athletic, sweater or shirt, and then they go out there and they go for that run. And they go for that run. Maybe it's like 2 kilometers. And they're like literally lungs is about to pop out of their chest. And most people, that's how they start and that's how they think they're going to get back into shape is, man, I got to go out there for some long distance running. Now, 2.5 kilometers isn't like a crazy amount, but if you are 30 to 40 pounds overweight, that's tough, man. That's hard to do. And if you're doing any more than that, that can also become, injury prone when you're doing that. Now, other things that I would say in today's episode too is a lot of people think like the volume in terms of what they do when they're training has to be around, 6 to 7 days per week of like crazy training to actually see results. So let's break it down on, what you probably believe right now and what you need to stop, and then what the mindset shift needs to be that we're going to incorporate. All right. So what I put here, long distance jogs, right? Like that's one thing that I think you don't need to do to get into great results. Another one I put here, guys, is the high intensity cardio boot camps. All right. That's basically, HIIT style where maybe it's 45 seconds, you're doing an intense exercise and in 15 seconds rest, multiple exercises. You do that for a round. You might rest for 1 to 2 minutes, and then you're like literally repeating again, 45-minute workout. Most people leave that workout like their nervous system is fried. They're sweating up a storm, but they're also super sore, putting a beating on their body. Last one, like I already mentioned, is 6 to 7 days a week of training. Like you don't have to train that much and put it all into your lifestyle to be able to transform your health. Now, what are the shifts? Okay, so going back to the first one, the cardio, long distance, jogging, not that that's bad. That can definitely be a part of your training experience. But if that's the sole thing you're doing, there's much more effective ways to train. And the better solution, I would say, than going for long distance jogs is just simply walk. If you're a busy professional right now, 30s, 40s, 50s, you're 20 to 50 pounds overweight, you haven't been living the healthy lifestyle, instead of going for 3 to 4 30-minute jogs, I want you to shift to every single day, if possible, but we all got to start somewhere. It could be 3 to 4, but every single day doing a 30 to 45-minute walk. Okay? Reason being, going for that jog when you are overweight and deconditioned, it's going to put a lot of stress on your body. And maybe you do it day 1, maybe you do it day 2, but for most people, your body is not used to that type of action, and you're going to be extremely sore. And even in some cases, you could really hurt yourself jogging, that repetitive motion of your weight hitting the ground on your knees, your ankles, and on your lower back. So that's one way. But then also it's like you're not building muscle. And we'll go a little bit deeper into the importance of muscle when we talk about strength training. But when it comes to the walking, why it's probably more important that you focus on walking is less strenuous than going for that longer jog or that run. So when I'm doing an intense run, it's going to curb my appetite. Like I'm going to be hungry like after that, and I'm going to probably eat more calories to be able to recover. If I'm going for a low intensity walk for 30 to 45 minutes, one, I'm probably not going to deal with a bunch of shin splints, knee pain, back pain. I'm also not going to be super hungry and need to eat even more amounts of calories. And most of the calories that you're going to consume is probably going to be carbohydrates, right? So that would be the big shift that I would need you to break down is I don't need to do long distance running. Instead, let me program consistent walking, 30 to 45 minutes outside, preferably. It doesn't have to be, but when you do it outside, you're getting more benefits of sun exposure, time in nature, which this helps not only with losing body fat, but also, hey, your mental health as well. All right. So next one, the high intensity cardio boot camps. So again, a lot of people, this became super popular, I would say from, probably 2005 to maybe 2020. That was like the thing is, whether it was CrossFit or like boot camp style, outdoor, it's doing these fast paced exercises. And people would associate that with like burning and melting the fat off your body. And that's just not the case. You're going to burn fat by being in a calorie deficit, by also building more muscle through your training, right? There's not going to be magical exercises that make you lose body fat in certain places, okay? So when you're doing a crazy intense HIIT session, I think there's a time and a place if you do it correctly. But when you're that busy professional who's not in shape, and now that's your style of training, 3, 4, 5 days a week, man, there's a lot of recipe for disaster. You can get injured because you're doing crazy burpees, you're doing box jumps, you're doing exercises at a fast pace, and maybe your form starts to get compromised. That's one area right there. If you are, especially a woman who's dealing with menopause or premenopausal, doing intense boot camp style cardio, what that does, it spikes your cortisol levels. When you got high cortisol levels, that is correlated to belly fat as well. So these are all things that, again, people are doing that are preventing you from transforming your health. Now, the swap that I want you guys to think about is, do we have to delete high intensity cardio? No, but I would minimize that to maybe once per week and doing it in specific ways. I think sprinting is a great way to do some high intensity cardio. For those of you that are not able to sprint, maybe because your weights or your joints or previous injuries, you can use an assault bike, you could use an elliptical, you could use a normal bike. You could even do things like low impact high knees and quick feet, agility ladder. These are all ways to replicate sprinting without the impact and the force that you do from sprinting, right? So what I would say is a more effective strategy is 1 day a week of high intensity cardio, but more importantly, it's the focus on 3 days a week of strength training. Okay. So another thing that's really popular is like MyZone and tracking your calories burnt. I think there's nothing wrong with that. My issue with it sometimes is people get too consumed in the amount of calories you're burning in the session. And so I've had times when people are training, when you do real strength training, if you train, to failure in the set, you need rest, right? You need to rest for 1 minute is short. I would say you need to rest for 90 seconds, 2 minutes, 3 minutes to be recovered enough to lift heavy again. So I've had experiences where people are not used to strength training. They do a set, and maybe it's like their first set and we're kind of figuring out, and they're looking at their my zone and they're like, coach, I'm in the blue or I'm in the gray. I got to do jumping jacks during my set. I got to do high knees just to get their heart rate elevated. And that's not going to equate to you losing more body fat, building more muscle. You're just moving for the sake of getting tired and for the sake of sweating and being sore. All right. So I'm not pooing on the my zone, but I don't like when people get so wrapped in how many calories they're burning in the session, because what's more important than the session is how much calories are you burning throughout the day and how much calories are you burning at rest. And that's the big advantage when you switch to strength training. Strength training allows you to build muscle over time. And for more muscle on your body becomes more efficient at burning calories, and specifically when you're not training. So if you take a session of someone doing some high intensity session, yes, maybe you burned 1,000 calories in this crazy session. That's cool. But if you're not getting stronger over time and building muscle, you're not going to burn as much calories throughout the day. So now I take that strength training session who, I don't know, maybe I did a leg day and I burned half amount of calories. I burned 500. Who cares? Throughout the day, throughout the week, my body and my metabolism is more efficient at burning calories. So that's a big shift that a lot of people don't understand. And that's one of the big advantages of focusing on strength training. And then on top of that, strength training done in a safe manner it's just better compared to a high intensity. There's less risk of injury because you're not doing multiple exercises while being not recovered yet. Also, strength training itself has such positive impact on your brain, on protecting your body, from risk of injury as you get older, if you get into an accident, falls, so many things, right? So that's shift number 2. Let's put away with the boot camps, 3, 4, 5 days a week. Let's go into 1 day of high intensity cardio in the form of sprinting or some intelligence circuits that maybe last you 30 to 45 minutes, but then prioritizing 3 days a week of strength training. Now, as I mentioned, high volume of activity, meaning 6 to 7 days a week of training in the gym, whether you're doing long cardio, you're doing strength training, or you're doing HIIT. Me personally, I believe the busy professional who's in their 40s and 50s, you don't need to do that. You have so much other shit that you're focused on in your life, and it just becomes overkill. What I would recommend is 3 to 4 days a week of training. There's a difference between exercise and training. Somebody could go to the gym 6, 7 days a week and they can exercise. They can sweat, they can pick up the weights, they can do this exercise, they can go on the rower. Training is you're following a program and you're working towards a goal. You care about getting stronger, but also you care about getting yourself to a certain body fat percentage or even maybe a certain weight or even a certain performance level. So what I would rather you do is have 3 days a week of real strength training, 1 day of maybe cardio, and those are your 4 days. And you don't miss those 4 days. Now, if you really want to move and you want to do other things, I think there's other things you can do. You can play sports, right? You might just be active. You might shoot the basketball. You might kick soccer, pickleball. Those things can be pretty intense themselves, but that's what I would program in, maybe 1 or 2 days of that. Somebody else, you might like yoga or maybe some mobility where these things are very low intense, but they're still movement. So in my opinion, those are more like active recovery days. So if you want to put those into your schedule, that would be best. And again, this is for someone who's trying to transform their health. If I am an experienced person who's been training for years, I'm 12% body fat as a male and I'm in great shape. I'm a woman, I'm 18% body fat. Training is a part of my life. Yes, you are more able if you would like to train 5 to 6 days a week, but you don't have to. For most of those people, it's more just regimens. They just enjoy it. And it's more mental and emotional on why they're doing than the actual physical benefits of getting results. All right. So what I also want to do is I want to go a little bit further into like the actual training that you do, right? Because the whole purpose of this session is the myth is like, we got to do cardio. We got to do multiple days per week. Now, I want to go into the anatomy of a training session. So for 4 days a week, this is how I would probably split it if I were you paying attention. You could do one strength day, that's an upper body day, where you're going to do some pushing exercises, some pulling exercises. That covers most of your muscle groups. Second day I would do is a lower body day. This is going to be a lot of your squat exercises, a lot of your hinge exercises, some glute focused ones. What might I be missing here? And some single leg work. Always having some single leg work in there. That would be a great second day. Now your third day, it's up to you, man. Maybe you're a guy or a woman who your focus right now is upper body. So it could be a second upper body day that you do during that week as your third strength workout. Maybe your focus is more lower body. You want more glute development. You want more quads, more calves. That third day is a second lower body day. Another option that you can do, which is very popular, what we do here, is a full body workout. So there are a little bit of legs. There are a little bit of upper body. There might be a little bit of core in that one workout. And it's planned to be upper body, lower body, and then you have a full body workout. These are all variations of how you could design your strength training. They all work. The fourth day, as I mentioned, being some sort of more cardio-focused day where it's a shorter workout, it's faster pace. Protocols that we like to use, we love to use 3 rounds, where round 1 is about 5 minutes long. You do 30 seconds of an exercise followed by 30 seconds rest, and then you switch to the next exercise. And typically you'll do 5 different exercises. That makes 5 minutes. Once you're done a round, you might rest for 1 minute upwards to 3 minutes. And then now we repeat second round, and then we go for third round. That's a very effective way to do some good high intensity cardio. Another way you could still do this is you could change the work to rest periods. Instead of 30 seconds of work and 30 seconds rest, you could go 40 seconds of work, 20 seconds rest. A pretty tough one is like 45 seconds of work followed by 15 seconds of rest. Another variation that we like to do, guys, is 1 minute of work, where this is more like steady pace effort. Where those other ones I told you is like you're going as hard as you can. The 1 minute of work followed by 1 minute of rest, 5 exercises, that's more of like a 10-minute round. And typically we'll do 2 rounds of that. That's 20 minutes in total. So hopefully that gives you guys some very simple protocols and practical ways on how to design the days. Now, if I go deeper into the anatomy of the session, here's a couple things that we have is typically the workout, 45 minutes to 75 minutes. Like you don't need to be in the gym for 2 hours. All right. If you like to, cool. Most of us as busy professionals, we just don't have the time. In our program at Training for Warriors Sauga, most of the time people are in our workout. They're here for 60 to 75 minutes. And a lot of that is there's a lot of explanation. There's a lot of group things that we do, explaining the exercises. But without taking away some of those things, someone, if they're working out on their own, hey, you could do what I'm explaining in about 45 to 50 minutes very effectively. All right. Now, here's the anatomy of the session. You got to do a dynamic warm-up. So typically, I would say your warm-up should be anywhere from like 6 to 12 minutes long to prevent injury and to prepare you mentally and physically to have an amazing session. All right. So that's one thing you want to do. Next thing that we usually like to do is we like to do some sort of injury prevention exercise. We call it mechanical primers. It's to make sure you're specifically warmed up for the big compound exercise that you're about to do. After that, and we'll usually do like 2 sets of that to start. After that is like our big lift of the day. This is called our power or our strength block. Typically, we're doing 3 what we call working sets. So these should be intense sets. And before we do those, we do 2 build-up warm-up sets. So you can do 2 build-up warm-up sets. You can do 2 intense sets. And for a lot of people, that's great. We like to do 3 sets where we're really peaking up to that last set being really, really tough. All right. So that's our strength and power. Typically, the reps people will be doing is anywhere from 3 to 6 reps. That's usually where you're hitting your power and your strength. Occasionally in our program, 2 times throughout the year, we'll test 1 rep maxes, but that's not necessary, to transform your health. It's just more on the performance side of things. All right. So that's that part. Once you're done, and typically, like the type of exercises that you're going to do in your strength and power, it's what we call compound lifts. So for us at Training for Warriors, that's squats, that's deadlifts, that are overhead presses, bench presses, chin-up variations. Those are like our big lifts that we usually prioritize in that block. Then moving over, our next block is what we call the build phase. So this is usually what we call a delayed superset. So you're doing 2 different exercises. They're usually opposite muscle groups to each other. So if I'm pushing and doing a dumbbell bench press, I'm usually doing some sort of row or pull down movement in this area. And the whole focus of this is hypertrophy. So hypertrophy basically just means building muscle. And usually the best rep range is about 8 to 12 reps is typically what we do. And in the amount of sets, it's anywhere from like 2 to 4 sets. We, in our program, we love 3. I would even say for someone who's starting out, 2 sets is fantastic if you're pushing it to failure. All right. Next block, this is getting to the end of the workout now. This is what we would call burn. Burn is more tapping into your muscular endurance. So you're more doing higher reps, usually 12, 15, 20 plus reps for the exercise. So it is going to be lighter weight. And oftentimes they'll have less rest. So I'll give you an example. When we do an upper body workout, we might do 15 bicep curls, followed by 15 tricep push downs. We do those back to back, got the pump going, and then you're taking only like a minute rest and you're repeating that again for anywhere from 2 to 3 sets. Okay. Sometimes, depending on the workout, we'll take out the burn and we'll put something called blast, which blast is more on the cardio side of things. So even though we might be doing primarily a strength workout, you can put in some of your cardio at the end of your workout. In a time limit of anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, you can still get some of that cardio impact. And that's what we call blast, where we might do a little circuit of 30 seconds of an exercise, 30 seconds rest, 4 exercises. We do that for 1 round, we rest, and then we repeat it again. So hopefully, guys, this is giving you some clarity on how you can design your workouts and how you can put together the structures. A couple last things that I will say is intensity is everything. So yes, a workout can be 45 minutes. Yes, you can train 3 days a week, but you have to put intensity, meaning you have to put effort. If something says 10 reps and you're kind of holding back in the tank, and whatever weight you did for 10, you could have kept going and did 15, 17, 18, 20 reps, you're not going to get results. The way you have to train is at least 1 to 2 of those sets that you're doing, you have to get close to failure. So if it says 10, 8, 9, 10, you should be breathing heavy. You should be pushing yourself form-wise, but you can't do 11. If you're doing that, that is how you're going to grow. And now what that is called, it's called progressive overload. All right. Other things. Again, this is going to be the most effective way to change your physique. So yes, you could do cardio and maybe you're very consistent with your running and your high intensity cardio and you might lose weight. But promise you, most of you guys, you're not trying to lose weight. You're trying to change your physique and the way you look. And the way that you do that is you want to build muscle. You want to lower your body fat percentage. And one of the key aspects to doing that is strength training, adding some intelligent cardio, And then, as we'll talk about in a later episode, it's putting the right nutrition and lifestyle habits with that. All right. As I already mentioned, again, another benefit, protecting your bones, right? Protecting your brain. There's so much evidence now that shows when you do strength training, 2, 3, 4 days a week, how it makes so much preventative measures against things like dementia and Alzheimer's. All right. So we're going to keep it here for this episode. The key thing that I wanted to emphasize, guys, is let's break the myth that you have to do cardio. Let's break the myth that you have to train 6 days a week for you actually to see results. When really what we need to do, guys, we need to strength train 3 to 4 days a week, add in 1 day of high intensity cardio, make sure we have these workouts where we're doing upper, lower, maybe it's another upper full body. And then, hey, we have an intelligently designed workout where you're hitting your warm-up, some injury prevention, some strength or power, building your hypertrophy, and then doing some muscular endurance or some cardio at the end. I'm Coach Cory. Hopefully you guys got some value from this one, guys. Stay tuned for the remaining episodes of this series and share this one out. Beastin'!